Good evening, everyone, and this is our session with Ultimate Access and CIMA, a combined session that we're going to do. And I would like to hand over the mic to Geeta to introduce CIMA as well as all the presenters that are joining. Over to you, Geetu.
Thank you, Anju. Good evening once again, everybody. It's a pleasure to have so many more students and members joining our online sessions, which we have started introducing from last month. We're hoping to continue this month on month so that we have frequent more updates and opportunities to enhance our competencies. I'm sure you would be agreeing with me that times are quite uncertain, volatile, and it's very important to keep ourselves at the edge. That our skills, our performance speaks for itself, and sessions like these do add value in our ongoing experience build that we're doing at our respective careers. While we'll be going today, can I just, do a bit of housekeeping quickly and just make sure everyone's got their mics on mute? Okay, right. Okay, much better, I believe. So yes, I was just saying that apart from these online sessions, we are also going to be having an iftar evening next month. 14, 15 June is where we're planning to have iftar in Dubai and Oman. The evening is going to be a little more than just networking and enjoying each other's company, but we will also be having our past president, Mr. Malcolm Ferber, present on joining the dots. Joining the Dots is another thought research process report that CIMA has recently published, which is all about decision making in complex times. It's using the management accounting principles as a base to help us in our decision making, to help our organizations take informed and thought across the chain value decision making. Now, you would be hearing those details through the next invite that you should be receiving shortly. But while we do have these professional development sessions to help us add value to our learning, I would really strongly encourage everyone to keep ensuring that you're progressing with your CIMA qualification. We speak to employers day in and day out who appreciate the competencies that CIMA qualified people bring to the table. And that is purely because of the integrated thinking that they bring to the table. They think across the business, no matter which part of the organization they're working from, no matter what role it is. But the kind of thought process that CIMA qualified people bring is not thinking from a solo approach. And that is what's highly appreciated by employers. And that is respected right from our certificate level, going up to operations, going up to management, and going up to a strategic level, leading to membership. For the same, just to make sure that you and us are all on the same wavelength, we're ensuring that we're also providing you learning support towards your progression. So please do keep a tab on our support communication that we keep sending you. Certain support is offered at no cost, which is through your CIMA Connect portals. And then we're also offering you tuition support through either face-to-face workshops or online workshops, which are just to be completed within a month. The whole idea is to make sure your work-life balance has got enough time for you to be able to pursue the qualification. Hence, they are very, very carefully crafted to ensure that you can give your best attempt in a time schedule which is doable. Our module are modular in whether you're on a module or case study. We've got tuition options which can be done within a month. If you prefer online, you prefer face-to-face, we've got all those options available. Please do contact the CIMA office to get more details if you're looking at a session with our next batch, which is going to start in June. I think with that, I am going to now pursue with the rest of the session today with our speaker, who's going to be talking about, again, another critical element which is needed in integrated thinking towards decision making, which is on budgeting and forecasting. It's one of the top key items in a board's agenda because looking at times today, which are quite complex and quite challenging, budgets, numbers, costs are on top of the agenda. So with that, I do hope and believe that the session that we take away today is going to add value, not just in terms of our roles, but also to just show our board of directors, our line managers, and our management much more that we can offer than our existing roles. So with that, Anju, can I hand over the mic to you to continue with the session?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gita. That's a great introduction. Thank you. Yes, this is a little bit of my about me. I'm definitely from CIMA, a CIMA alumni. I've been associated with CIMA for a long time, and I've got my CPA from Australia, then specialised in finance from Manchester Business School, and I have worked quite a lot in the IT space, and that's why this budgeting, forecasting, as well as technology is very, very close to my heart. And you can also connect with me via LinkedIn. And our next speaker would be Omar. Omar is our technology specialist, and who will demo to you what is Hyperion, how to use Hyperion. Omar has got loads of experience, and especially working with the finance teams. So he is an adapted accountant, actually. He's going to be a CIMA member very soon, Gitu. I'm sure he is, right? He's so close to us. And we're going to have a very exciting event tonight. And let's look at our CIMA competencies as well. Now, why do I look at the competencies? Because if I look at the technical skills, they're definitely linked to that budgeting, planning, forecasting area. But however, business skills, people skills, leadership skills, and the ethics play a vital role. And CIMA, unlike any other qualification, emphasizes this quite a lot, and it is definitely incorporated into our exams, as well as in what all the other areas that we go through with CIMA. Now, this is a report from a synopsis of a report from 900 finance professionals, and you can see the first thing that they stated was the culture is very important, right? You need to have the right culture when it comes to budgeting, planning, forecasting. That is, collaboration needs to be there. Then, of course, the quality of data, right? How can we get good quality data? Because what goes garbage in, garbage out, as we all know. And the third thing, and the enabler, is IT, deploy effective and scalable technology solutions. It is quite important. And when they ran this survey, they also found out that they asked the question, has your organization invested in specific planning application? To their horror, 41% said no, right? And another question they asked was, to what extent is scenario modeling incorporated in your organization, right? Again, this was not done very well. It was quite ad hoc, right? Which is not good in our case. Then we look at key actions to deploy effective technology, right? This is, be familiar with your planning, budgeting, forecasting technology, right? Understand what the technology is, be familiar with it, right? And be very clear on the investment in this technology. Yeah. And another area that we would like to look into is, well, what are the value drivers when you're kind of going into this budgeting planning space? What are the value drivers? We also need to include the external data, because just having your internal data is not sufficient. And agree on consistent measures of success, right? And they also found out the biggest impediment to our this external data is the quality of data. Okay, so that was the biggest issue. And another one that came up from these reports is the purpose of the budget has always been allocated to resources. This is a traditional way of thinking when it comes to budgeting, forecasting, right? It was linked to traditional resources, but now nowadays your environment is changing rapidly. Okay, so we need to change with the environment, and the scenarios need to change pretty fast, right? Budget is a view at a point in time that sets the organization on a particular path. That is just a view in a point in time, and that point in time changes with the environmental impacts, the changes in environment. And that's why we say finance need to be able to quickly develop, analyze different scenarios, and help the business to understand what will happen if. So these what if scenarios become extremely important. And how can you model them? I mean, it's not possible to model all these things in Excel, right? And also collaborating with teams from multiple places across the world. This is the norm. You need to collaborate. And this again becomes very, very difficult, cumbersome with the Excel. So, with all this, what are we saying? Organizations that do not embrace forecasting will be left behind without a question, right? That's the conclusion. But definitely, who is the enabler out there? Right? Who is the enabler? And it is IT who will be the enabler to take us to that next level. Definitely IT is your friend. As an accountant, as a professional accountant, I would say IT is definitely your best friend, because embrace technology that will take you to that next level, right? And with that, I'm going to hand over to Omar and Oracle Hyperion. Omar, over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. I'm very excited to be here, actually. I'm actually an outsider, an IT background, but I do identify with most of you because I've worked for over 10 years with finance professionals. I've been building budgeting and forecasting systems for various clients, and I know a lot of the issues that the finance people face when it comes to budgeting, planning, forecasting, reporting, for all of these terminologies, which you're all aware of. I want to start with most of you, all of you actually have heard of Hyperion planning. I don't know if all of you have worked with it, but it's the actually number one tool when it comes to budgeting and planning. Of course, it competes with other products like IBM and SAP. But Hyperion, according to Gartner, one of the latest reports, it's accounting for at least 60% of the worldwide budgeting systems. So it is the market leader. And today we're going to show some of the what is Hyperion planning and why actually it is relevant for management accountants, whether you're a CFO, finance manager, or simply a super or key user. Hyperion is going to complement your Excel. You're never going to lose your Microsoft Excel sheets, but instead of relying 100% on your Excel sheets, you're going to actually be less depending on the sheets, as we'll demonstrate. So Let me start the presentation now. So this is just a brief on how to create and manage applications in Hyperion Planning. This is what we call Oracle EPM system. EPM is Enterprise Performance Management. It's akin to the ERP terminology, which is Enterprise Resource Planning. When we say EPM, you probably see a lot of this as more like IT related.
Omar, are you going to share your screen with us now?
Yes, you can see. Sorry.
So till Omar starts, just to let you know, Oracle Hyperion is one of the budgeting tools. So there are many other budgeting tools available, right? But in this case, we are demonstrating the capabilities of Hyperion and how it can really help us. Thank you, Omar. We can see your screen now.
All right, let's get on with it. So this is what I was talking about actually. EPM, Enterprise Performance Management System. It might sound as a technical term, so let's drop the IT jargon and look at the middle of the screen here. We'll find the EPM applications. So you're from finance and management accounting background. EPM is the suite of products that handles different functions in management accounting and finance, whether strategy management, whether it's your financial close and reporting, or planning and forecasting, or profitability management. All of this is done in EPM. Today we'll be focusing on one part of it, which is the planning and forecasting, budgeting and planning. And if you can look at the top bar, you will see the information delivery. How are we going to get the information here? You have different. You can have your dashboards, your ad hoc analysis reports using Excel sheets. You can have Office integration. Everything you'll see in Hyperion Planning is fully integrated with Office, whether it's Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, or Excel sheets. And in the end, you'll have different sources of databases or ERP systems, whether it's your Oracle ERP, PeopleSoft, JDE, Siebel, whether it's your Excel sheet. All of these sources actually can feed to your Hyperion Planning application and eventually your budgeting model. What are the features of Hyperion Planning? These are the main features that you will definitely have to work with in Hyperion Planning. It facilitates and collaborates your communication, and it controls access and your across different entities and companies. Yeah.
Omar, in this case, what you mean is it so if we are in different parts of the world, this can really you just provide access to us, is it? Is that how it will work?
Yes, exactly. You only need an Internet Explorer, or Firefox, and internet connection, nothing else.
Okay.
So you can access it from your laptop, your iPad, your mobile. Everything is. It's like you have so many different ways of accessing it. Even from your Excel sheets, if you're an old school, you prefer Excel sheets. All the features you're gonna see is accessible also from Microsoft Office products.
Right. Okay, that's convenient.
Which is the second point here, the ease of use and deployment through Smart View. When we say Smart View, is your Microsoft Office, whether it's Excel sheets or PowerPoint or your Word. And of course, it lowers the total cost of ownership because it's meant to be owned by finance people. You don't depend on the IT. There's no programming as such. You can actually own the solution, whether you want to create a new report, a new dashboard. You can all do that without referring back to the IT. Of course, it enhances decision making. Why? Because of the information is available to you. You don't have to go to the source systems to retrieve the data. It all comes and it's integrated in the model. And you have complex business rules. You can create a graphical business rules. So business rule is nothing but your Excel formulas, but rather than just writing a rule like a formula in Excel sheet, you can actually design it in business rule. through a graphical interface. So you drag and drop an object and you specify, for example, you want to calculate taxes based on a specific formula. You specify that in a business rule and a graphical interface, and it will calculate the values for you automatically without writing codes. Of course, there's integration with other systems, mainly your ERP systems, Excel sheets, and if you have drivers like revenue driver systems, and integration with reporting applications. Now, if any of you will embark in a Hyperion planning implementation, you will hear and you will at some point get to know any of these products. These are like the common products in Hyperion planning. You have the workforce planning, capital asset planning, public sector planning, project financial planning, profitability and cost management, performance scorecarding, strategic finance, financial management. These are all different products in Oracle EPM. Whether you're into financial close processes, you have your product for that. Whether you are into only driver-based allocations, you have a product for that. Or whether you're focused only on budgets and forecasts, you also have your products.
So they are like modules, is it, Omar?
Yes, exactly. These are
Right.
like, if you compare it to your ERP systems, you have your, let's say, general ledger that consolidates all the data from sub-ledgers.
Yes.
You have like, let's say, payables module, you have your receivables, you have your fixed assets.
Yes.
So these are all the same. They all work in one way, like in one family of products. It's called EPM. So
Right.
that's the,
Okay.
and they're all linked together. But you know, some organizations, they, for example, you can find a smaller company that's using only Oracle GL without using, for example, fixed assets because they don't have a lot of assets to manage and so on. So it's a different products, and depending on the how big is the organization, they get to choose the product that suits them best.
Yeah.
So now
That's
the
great.
calculation manager, this is one of the most important aspect of components in Hyperion planning. This is the repository, the engine that creates the complex business rules. Whether your business rule is about allocation, you want to allocate an indirect cost, whether you want to calculate specific, let's say, manpower, your employee elements, your grade-based employees, whether it's just a revenue driver, everything is done in Calculation Manager. So this is a very powerful tool, and it's actually user-friendly. So you have a graphical interface we can just use to create whatever rules you want for your model. Now another important aspect in
One
Hyperion.
second, please, Omar. 1 second, because there's a lot of disturbance from out there. So I would like you guys to say, if you can please mute your mics.
Okay, so back to the. So now, since we're talking about Hyperion planning, you'll hear of the concept what is multidimensional technology, OLAP, dimensions. Hyperion planning is your application is mainly consisting of number of dimensions. So what are the dimensions? They usually represent your chart of accounts. So whether you have, you definitely will have your accounts, which is your natural account segment, your entity or your cost center, your periods, how do you want to report and do your budgets, whether it's annual or monthly, quarterly. You can have different also dimensions such as your companies, countries, if you're in a multinational organization, and so on. Dimension is just a structural element of an application. It describes your data. So let's look at the account here. We have the gross margin hierarchy. So you have the top parent, which is called the gross margin. You'll have total revenues and costs, and different elements underneath each of these sub-parents. In your entity, in this case, it's a geographical representation of your organization. So we have, for example, in this case, it's a country based. So you have United States, California, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. You can have different companies under each of these states, or it can be just a geographical location. It depends on how you want to define your dimension. And period in this case is straightforward. It's your quarterly. You have 12 periods, 12 base months, and you have quarters. A dimension hierarchy is just like a relationship. So when you hear a hierarchy in any Hyperion planning implementation or a project, you will hear the terms like descendants or parents or child. So what are these? If we look at the descendants gross margin, you can say that total revenue, sales, other revenues, and so on. These are all descendants of gross margin. Why this is important? Because we mentioned before the calculation manager. When you actually want to create a business rule through graphical interface, you only have to specify. Let's say you go to a specific account and you say, I want to calculate a specific, let's say, a tax for this group of accounts. So you can say, okay, I want the descendants of this account and so on. So this reduces the need for actually writing codes and so on. Multi-dimensional view of information. Your Hyperion planning application is a number of cubes. Your cube is the, let's say, the box that holds the data that is important to you as a management accountant. So let's look at these two boxes here. Imagine man's actual two physical boxes. In one box, you'll get to know your profit information, total expenses, your margin, your COGS, your cost of goods sold for different products. In this case, you have TV, VCR, and you also have different regions and your scenarios, actual budget in East region, for example, you have in the West region, actual and budget. So this information or this cube, based on this, you can build whatever reports you want. You simply have to go and say, okay, I want to look at my TV profits in the Eastern region. I want to compare the actual versus budgets. So this is just to give you an understanding or an idea what is happening in the back end of any Hyperion planning application. Of course, different cubes have different measures. So if you look at the other cube, you'll find different data, different metadata, that's structured data. So you're looking, for example, you can see that you have your periods actually coming on the columns. You have your measures, sales, margin. You have your products as well. And in the back end, you have different slices that represent your regions, whether it's West, San Francisco, LA, and Denver, and so on. Another important thing in Hyperion planning, the ability to have drill down processes. So if you're only depending on Excel sheets in your budgeting systems, it's going to be very difficult to actually drill down. So let's say you're looking at the total figures for specific customers. If you want to go and query a specific, let's say, a retail customer, if in case you don't have this information in one Excel sheet, and most probably you don't, because you'll have at least 100, if not thousands of sheets, you have to go and actually fetch that information. Where in Hyperion planning, it's all in one sheet. You can simply just drill down and say, okay, I want to fix on this account, I want to fix on my net income, for example, for a specific customer in this specific region. And if you want to drill down, you can simply drill down without going to any other sources of data, whether it's Excel sheets or source systems. So there's just some terminologies about data and dimensions. We have hierarchies in Hyperion. So here we can see that the data, if you look at the next to, let's say, the gross margin, you have 400. 400 is nothing but the consolidation of your descended members. So if you can see your revenues in this case is 1,000, your total cost is 600. And you can see the consolidation operator, plus and minus. So what this tells us that the gross margin in this case is 400. Why? Because you have a revenue of 1,000 minus your 600 cost, then automatically it calculates and it aggregates your gross margin. So you don't have to do any calculation, any formulas, it's embedded in your dimension. When we say metadata, it's just the representation of your data, what this data means. So let's look at this number, for example, 3689, 3689. It can mean anything actually in Hyperion or in any OLAP multidimensional system. But you have to look at the combination of your intersection or your metadata so it actually makes any sense for you. To do a demo. We were done with the slides. I just gave you like a very, very brief introduction about planning, some of the terms that you'll hear when it comes to any implementation of budgeting systems. Actually, whether it's Oracle or any other, the terms are the same. OLAP, cubes, dimensions, they're all quite similar. What we can see here is the landing page of Oracle EPM system, Hyperion. So this is just your like your ERP homepage. You get to see you have the quick links here on the right, and you have the recently opened applications or reports. I'm going to proceed and open one demo application. So this application, what I'm showing you right here, is just, let's say, a collection of a very large number of Excel sheets, if I want to simplify it for you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries. Just... Is it better now?
Let's see the screen.
Okay, so this is your Hyperion planning application. So the simplest way to actually describe it to you is it's a collection of your Excel sheets. Currently, when you do your budget and you don't have any system, you have so many Excel sheets. Whether it's your finance cost, your manpower sheets, your drivers, your revenue manpower, your revenue budgets, and so on. You have different so many sheets. In this case here, what we see is the models. You have different models here on the left, as you can see. What I'm going to show is one of the models here, which is the CapEx planning.
So one second, Omar. What you're saying is what's there is like big Excel sheets, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so this is all in Hyperion currently. And the thing here is people from different parts of the world, again, is able to access and work with these models, right? With these.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, fine. All right, thank you.
Yes, we actually have two types of planning applications. You have the multi-currency application, or you have a single currency, and these are standard features from Hyperion.
Right. So what do you mean by multi-currency, Omar?
Multi-currency means that you have, let's say, one data form, one entry sheet that you go and enter your cost, let's say, whether you're a planning user from Denmark or UAE, right, or India or Australia. You just go and enter your data, right, and the system will automatically calculate will convert to your reporting currency on the spot. So you don't have to manage any of it comes in by default.
Right.
So, as I was saying, these are at the left. These are all different modules. What I'm going to briefly talk about is the CapEx part. Every one of us, like when you actually do your budgets, you have to plan your CapEx. Basically, whether it's your new assets or your existing assets, you have to have a look at your figures here. So what I can see, I just expanded the role here, or the task list, but we call this is a task list. So CapEx planning, you have different items here. You have the first item, which is like an introduction. So this is just like a window from the, let's say, if you have a finance organization that's sending out, let's say, budget guidelines to a lot of users distributed in different countries. So you go there and you just put whatever requirements you want, like headlines or highlights that you want the other regional finance manager to take care of. And you simply just click on any of the items. In this case, I'm going to click at the capital planning assumptions.
So someone's asking, what is CapEx? CapEx is, explain CapEx, Omar. What is CapEx? Yes. Yeah.
CapEx is your capital items that you need to purchase for your budgets, whether it's it's a laptop, whether it's furniture, whether it's your office furniture, whether it's a machinery and equipment. You might have to plan, actually say, okay, next year I have 20 people joining us, and I need to buy 20 laptops. So you have to put this as part of your budgets.
Yes.
Because you have to buy the laptops, and then you have to account for the depreciation of the laptops as part of your management accounting budgets. So this model specifically is just handling this part of it, whether it's a new asset you want to request or just your existing depreciation or existing assets. Whether you want to look at the costs of your existing assets, you want to see you have office equipment and you want to see, okay, what is the cost you're actually paying for your depreciation on these existing assets? Whether you want to replace them or refurbish them or actually move out and go on and rent a new office and have it all covered up.
Thank you.
So, okay, just because of the Zoom, actually, I have to open the application again.
Right, okay.
So, this is another interface of looking at the, you have two different modes of, let's say it's a folder structure. So this is the same as the task list. You can see here my CapEx planning, you have different models. So you have different ways of looking at at your role. So this is my, you can see now this is called depreciation assumptions. So this is just like a data form. It just tells the users, okay, these are the different categories you have. You have land and buildings, motor vehicles, your office equipment, IT equipment, and so on. We have two important things here, which is your depreciation percentage and the residual value. Based on this, of course, you have to do this manually. If you're planning this in Excel sheets, when you actually go and say, okay, I need to buy 20 laptops. So you have to actually first budget for the cost of the laptops, which will go eventually to your balance sheet or asset cost account. And then you have to
let me see. No, not as yet.
okay, let me share again.
Thank you. Yes, now it's coming on. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the depreciation assumptions. These are the based on the business rules that will calculate your new asset cost, your depreciation, and so on. This is the definition. Your rule will go into this place, and okay, it will look at let's say you're requesting for new office equipment. It will go and say, okay, you have 20% depreciation percentage, and the residual value is 20%, and so on. It's going to calculate the depreciation based on these assumptions. I'm going to actually demonstrate this for you. So we have actually two models, as we said in CapEx. You request new assets and you view your existing assets. So in this case,
Omar, sorry, I have a question for you. So
yes,
what
please.
you're saying is, now in our enterprise resource planning, like Oracle or SAP, you will calculate the current assets, isn't it? Our
Yes,
existing
exactly.
assets.
Yes.
Right. So what you're saying is we're not able to add new assets and do the forecasting and manipulating and kind of do the what if scenarios there.
Yes, actually, we can go from this way.
Right.
So let me look first at the existing assets here. This is what you just mentioned here. You have your ERP system, whether it's ERP or it's your existing whatever system you have.
Yes.
You can have projections of the depreciation cost of your existing assets. So let's say at any point in time, before you start your budgeting for next year, you say, okay, I want to project what are my existing asset depreciation costs. So based on this, you actually this is actually a standard feature in Oracle ERP. You can generate these figures and plug them into your Hyperion planning budgeting system. So these are the dimensions here, or let's say your chart of accounts, whether you have a cost center or your contracts, business unit, and so on. These are just whatever I'm selecting here, it's equivalent to my chart of account.
Right.
So I'm going to look at the finance overheads. So I selected finance here. The location is Dubai. And this is another segment which is equivalent to my contracts. But when it comes to finance, I only have overheads. So I have to look at my overheads here. So once I selected all the members or the selection, my dimensions, I just click and go. And then you can see that the figures are coming here. Whatever you see here is your existing depreciation. So this is all sourced from your Oracle ERP system. So you can go and look and say, okay, the depreciation cost of your office equipment is this much. This is in dirhams in this case. And your fixtures and fittings, you have this much of this is your ongoing cost and so on. We can see that you had some cars, and actually it's coming to an end in October in this planning year, because there's no more depreciation going on. So you might have to say, okay, we'll probably have to plan a new vehicle, and let's say we can plan to purchase the vehicle in November, and or let's say in September, but we'll plan to actually use it by November or December. What this means that it actually goes and tells the system when to cost, when to plan your cost that will affect your balance sheet part, and when to actually start calculating depreciation with your date of use, and this will affect your P&L part. So I'm going to demonstrate this by actually adding a new asset. Based on this example here, I see that, okay, I need to buy a new motor vehicle. So I simply click on add new asset. Similar to, I can see the same dimensions or the same members, the combination I've selected, finance overheads in Dubai. I already have one asset here, which is software, but I'm going to remove this. Okay, so I just right click and I say add new asset. Here I get to see the my categories. Every one of these categories is eventually linked to your chart of account.
Omar, so these are the categories that you showed us before, isn't it? So these categories I've set up prior, and this is what you say that it's in a cube. So will these categories, will they be in a cube?
Yes, exactly. This is just part of your cube, and these are just, they represent, if you want to compare to your source ERP system, this is your major and minor categories. Whether you're planning your assets on major or minor categories, this is the same, only in a cube dimension called, let's say in this case, it's a custom dimension, meaning that you have one dimension that is handling different part of your model. In this case, this is the assets part, the categories. So I'm just going to select here my motor vehicle. What is important here is, based on this selection, the system will automatically calculate my depreciation based on the assumptions that I showed in the first screen. So I click launch. I don't have to go to an Excel sheet to maintain, let's say, masters, or go and manually calculate. I just have to fill in the information here. So in this case, I'll just say new car. Let's say I want to. Okay, I'll just put the quantity here, asset cost, I'll say 30,000. Date required, I'll say I'm gonna need it in April. I'm gonna start using it in May. I'm just using an old project, that's why the dates are a bit old. So you can see that I have this in the treatment column. It changed. The value is now capex because you have different assets. You can ask for minor assets, which doesn't go to your asset books. Just these are considered as expense items based on the value. Every company has a specific threshold. In some companies, any purchase, let's say below, let's say 500 dirhams, it's not considered an asset. It's just an expense, and so on. So in this case, I just purchased them.
Sorry, Omar. So that means in this case, even if it's a capex or even an opex, I remember in Australia we have the low value pool items, right? So you can capture them like that, and they call them low value pool items because that needs to get reported, and also that needs to get you need to forecast that kind of expenditure as well. So you're able to see that because your treatment, you can classify the treatment whether it's a capex or an opex. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. So I'll just quickly demonstrate this. I'll change the value here to 100. So it's just 100 dirham. I'll just click save. I'll see what the column treatment here should change now, because the value is 100. it won't be treated as a capex. So you can see now it's showing as an opex. So this is nothing but just an item that you just purchased. It will go directly to your P&L. It won't hit your asset cost or your balance sheet.
So that does it mean that you have specified this in your rules already?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So
Exactly.
if the
And you
value
can
is
have
below
different
so
variables.
much, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, usually what we do is we give a variable and we give it to the finance
Right.
department, and they go and specify the value. Every budget cycle, it might change.
Okay.
So in one cycle it can be 500, and let's say in next cycle, because of inflation or whatever, it can change to 550. So they can go and simply change the value, and system will deal with it directly, automatically. So I'm gonna change back the value here to 3. Because I'll just show quickly the depreciation cost calculation.
Mm-hmm.
So I entered back 30,000 here. I'll click on the second tab, which is the depreciation and residual value. Here you can simply just scroll to, okay, because of the year actually, I select, okay, I have 2012 here. I have to change the year.
Yeah. There you go.
So now what you can see at the top, you can see the year and you have the months. Based on the asset cost and your date of use, the system will automatically calculate the asset cost and the specific month and the depreciation once you start using the asset. So in this case, we can scroll right and you will see here in April. Here we can see the May values, your depreciation. This is the first actually month your asset is getting depreciated. So we can see 400 and 400 here as well. You go here and you say 400, 800. It accumulates the depreciation until you reach the residual value, until your asset is written off, and so on. This will all go to your P&L accounts. If we go to the last tab here, you'll see different tabs. You'll find the depreciation and the depreciation, the balance sheet and your P&L account. And of course, your asset account should be populated as well, the asset value, the cost. So this is just a very brief introduction. This is just the CapEx planning. It's one of many ways of doing CapEx in Oracle Hyperion. And I'll hand it over to you now, Andrew.
Right, thank you. So, Omar, I think one of the scenarios here would be where people, in different parts of the organization, in different locations, where they want to purchase certain capex items, right? And they put in these values based on their organization's strategy, correct? And they will think, okay, I'm going to purchase these items, and of course this needs to get approved by their managers and the senior managers. Now, one question for me is, will this system accommodate this kind of maker-checker kind of activity where I'm creating this, but I want my managers and the senior managers to approve it?
Yes, absolutely. Everything is controlled through workflows.
Right, brilliant.
So whatever you enter here, you have different roles in the system. You can be a planner. You can go and ask for, let's say, 10 motor vehicles.
Right.
But your manager will only approve 5 or 3.
Yes.
So the final call, the final figures that will affect your budget is eventually your the management. It's based on the approval, basically. So you plan, and then it gets reviewed, and finally, once it's reviewed and approved, your budget is freeze based on that.
Right. So this is great news. That means no more emails going back and forward, no more papers going back and forward, hopefully, with the approvals. And, I know during budget time it can be a nightmare, because different conversations happen, and it's very, very difficult for us to capture all these conversations. But in this case, it's quite easy, because everything is put, people from different parts of the organization, it's not just finance, but others in the business contribute to this as well, and then there is an approval process, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And everything you see here is actually automatically linked with emails. So whatever you do, whether you're submitting your budget, you're just requesting new asset, you want an approval from your manager, you don't have to write any emails. There's an embedded workflow email here that sends automatically the emails.
Right.
So and you have the access to actually disable the notifications. You want to enable it, disable it. It's all within your control. If you receive too many emails and you don't want to, if you're, let's say, if you're a director and you're responsible for more than 50 or whatever, like you have so many users reporting to you, you can simply disable this feature, and it's all flexible.
Okay, brilliant. That's a very insightful demo, Omar, and it is definitely very useful for the management accountants and for the business. I can cite an example where in one of the organizations that I worked for, they did quite a bit of IT investment and development of software and things like that. The applications had to be capitalized. What they forgot to do was to enter these into a forecasting system and predict what the depreciation cost is going to be, right? So that was never done. But as a result, one fine day when they looked at the budgets, the next year budgets, they realized there were so many projects that's going to go live, and that will activate the depreciation, and the depreciation cost was exorbitant, right? And again, this happened because, everybody knew, right? We started these projects, and then there is depreciation that's going to take place. So it's just because you have not been planning well that these surprises come, right? So I'm going to end tonight's session, and I think thank you, Omar, so much. But a few things that I want to tell you guys who've joined us tonight. Some good news. One second, So what I would like to share with you is, if you liked this session with Omar, and if you want to learn more about Hyperion, right, we have a session going on that will start sometime in July, and Omar will be one of the tutors who will be involved in this. And this session is a 20 hours session. That means 20 days. We will take you through different stages of Hyperion, and you will get hands-on experience to use Hyperion budgeting and planning, which is a great experience. And this is an application, as Omar said, used by a lot of the companies across the world. And we are giving you guys an exclusive CIMA offer, $450 for these 20 hours of Hyperion budgeting planning. So what we will give you for this is not only Omar coaching you for 20 hours, hands-on experience, plus you will have it will take you about 1 month for these sessions, and another month you will get to play with this system, right? It will be available for you, and you can get familiar with this system. So it's a great offer that we've got, and we will only take on 20 students, okay? 20 participants. Okay then, before we end tonight's session, I will hand back to Gitu. Gitu, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anju, and thank you, Omar. I think there's a saying that used to be very popular earlier, that working hard is always recognized and appreciated. But over the times, technology has taken over leaps and bounds, wherein the only option to stay at the edge is working smart. And working smart is basically how can you capitalize on what is available to make you stand out, make you work more smarter, efficiently, and effectively. Technology plays a huge role, and brains behind the business know how to manage the business, capitalizing on this asset, which is now available with all of us. So I think today's session was more about understanding how can we use these tools to enhance our performance. So I sincerely appreciate the understanding that we've been given by Omar on Oracle Hyperion. And I do believe it's quite an eye opener on a couple of things that we can do, strategizing, planning, budgeting, and more. So, with that, I think I would love to invite any questions, feedback that you may have. I know Faisal and Rima had certain questions. If you'd like to just quickly go over your questions to Omar, it would be good for all of us to also hear on input in refer to the same. Faisal, would you like to go for it? If you prefer, I can do the questions on your behalf. So there was a question from Rima asking on project planning and budget management. Is there something on it, Omar?
Yes, actually there's an additional module from Oracle Hyperion. It's you pay for it. There's, let's say, a basic car that you get, which is our Hyperion planning, and you get enhancements. So you want to get a rooftop or whatever, like some additional accessories. It's similar to Hyperion, where we have something called project financial planning. It's an additional model you pay for. It comes from Oracle. It's a pre-built application that uses the best cases in the industry of project management and project financial planning. You can also, having said that, you can also have basic Hyperion planning, whatever I just showed you here, and you can have a vendor of your choice to actually implement whatever requirements you want. Because Hyperion planning at the end is just, it's a tool. It's like an empty box. You just fill it with all the information you want. There's no restrictions whatsoever. Whether you want to have your application to manage your projects only, or your manpower planning, or simply the whole budgeting applications. So there's actually no restriction whatsoever. Whatever you can see in Hyperion is fully customized. So you can have n number of modules in your application. But at the end, it depends on what kind of requirements, what do you need from Hyperion.
Super. The other question that we have is the difference between dense and sparse dimension.
Yeah, okay. Dense and sparse, this is quite technical terms, but I explained before the term box, you know. In Hyperion, you store your information in box. So let's say you have one warehouse, and you want to go and say, okay, I want to store some information in this warehouse. So you have to look and say, okay, I want to bring n number of boxes. Let's say I want to bring 1 million boxes. But what are the size of the box? You have to actually specify the size so they can actually fit in this warehouse. Your dense and sparse dimensions is nothing but your size of the box or size of the block, and sparse is your number of boxes. So look at it from, you have a big room, you want to fill it with information. You have to specify your density and sparsity so you can just fit as many boxes as possible to get all the information you want in an optimal way.
Okay, super. I know there'll be a couple of more inquiries. What I may recommend at this point is we could put in our questions either to Lynn, who you would have got your web link, or to Anju, who has put in her email address and the chat box. Whichever way, we'll make sure that your questions, inquiries reach Omar. And I do believe with the exclusive offer that they've given to CIMA students and members, in case anyone would like to take advantage of it, please do let us know, and we'll make sure you're connected to the right person. With that, I would sincerely like to thank everyone for your time, and I hope you've enjoyed the session. I would also like to extend my thanks to a couple of students and members who were trying to make sure that the session is pursuing smoothly. So I much appreciate all your coordinated efforts in making sure the session happens successfully. Thanks very much, and we look forward to seeing you in our next month's session. We'll be having 2 sessions, and both the session invites will be sent to you shortly to understand the content and the value learning that you'd get from those sessions. With that, wishing you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the students who are waiting for the CO2 class, please hang on because the lecturer will be on in 5 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.